And support avalanche safety for only $29. 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 And support avalanche
It is now 6:07. We will go ahead and get started this evening. When you are speaking, please be sure to unmute your microphone to be heard on the broadcast. The public who did not register in advance can watch the live broadcast on the city's YouTube channel. For live Spanish translation services, please dial 720-386-9023 and use code 104091 *. Para servicios de traducción en español en vivo, por favor marque 720-386-9023 y use el código 104091 *.
I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Board of Adjustment to order. Will staff please do roll call?
Board Member Leffel.
Present.
Board Member Fry-Wade.
Present.
Chair Hernandez.
Present?
Board Member Poe. Board Member Douglas. Board Member Veltakis.
Here.
Chair, you have quorum.
Thank you. Can I get a motion and a second to excuse Board Member Douglas?
I make a motion to excuse Board Member Douglas and Poe.
We're going to do them separate, so we'll do Douglas
All right,
first.
thank you. Douglas?
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Sure, I'll second that.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion by Board Member Fry and a second by Board Member Voltakis. Please open the electronic voting.
Chair, I have a question before we get to the next one. Just a clarification from regarding Board Member Aaron, because do we have to seat him before he can vote in second? I just want to clarify that for the record.
I'll be making an announcement after we do the pledge that he's there, but yeah,
Okay, I just want to make sure. Thank you.
thank you. Okay, great. All right.
And then I will make a motion to excuse Member Poe.
We'll declare can we see the vote? Sorry. Oh. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Vote results, we got 4 yeses, so motion passes. Thank you. Okay. And can I get a motion and a second to excuse Board Member Poe?
I will make a motion to excuse Board Member Poe as excused.
Thank you. Can I get
I'll
a
second that.
Great, thank you. Okay, we have a motion by Board Member Fry and a second by Board Member Voltakis. Please open the electronic voting. We've got 4 yeses. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, will you all please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And before getting to our agenda this evening, I would like to recognize Board Member Aaron Voltakis, an alternate who will be sitting on the board this evening. Welcome, thank you. Okay. And moving on to the next item here, staff has requested case AV 26-0002 move to the third item on the agenda as it's related to case AV 25-0017 with the same address. Do any members of the board have questions related to this request? Any questions? No questions? All right, moving on. Can I get a motion to amend the agenda to shift AV 26-0002 to the third in order under public hearings?
I make a motion to make that movement.
Great. Thank you. And can I get a second?
I'll second that again.
Thank you. We have a motion by Board Member Fry and a second by Board Member Valtakis. Please open the electronic voting. We've got 4 yeses, motion passes. Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the February 10th, 2026 meeting minutes?
I make a motion to approve the February 10th, 2026 meeting minutes.
I'll second that.
Thank you. We have a motion by Board Member Fry and a second by Board Member Valtakis. Please open the electronic voting. And
He wasn't sitting on the board, but he was in the audience for the meeting.
okay, we've got 4 yeses, motion passes. Thank you. All right, I will now open the public hearing on case AV 25-0010, Joseph Rubio Carport setback reduction, which was continued from the last meeting. Staff will announce the case and present. The applicant does not have a presentation. At the conclusion of this presentation, I'll open the floor for any questions from the board for both staff and the applicant. Once all questions have been asked, the public will have an opportunity to comment on the case. We will start with members of the public attending in person before moving on to those attending virtually. With that, I will ask Deputy Director Heather Vidlock to please present this case.
Chair Hernandez, if I could for just a moment make a record. Board Member Vatlock was not seated at the last hearing on this, since this is a continuing matter. I just wanted to put on the record that Mr. Valtakis was present during the last meeting, heard this matter, and is familiar with the matter and able to vote in this one. Mr. Valtakis.
Thank you.
Mr. Valtakis, could you just confirm what I said?
Yes, that is true and accurate.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Board of Adjustment. I'm here tonight to present to you case AV 25-0010. Joseph Rubio is seeking a variance for approval to reduce the attached carport setback from the front facade of the home from 5 feet to 1 foot. This is a 4-foot reduction. The .04 acre property is located at 6388 East 78th Avenue and is zoned PUD. As the Deputy City Attorney has just reminded you, this case was originally heard on February 10th and continued by the board so that we could come back and address the side setback question. If you recall, the PUD is almost illegible in the version that was in your packet. And so when we went back to the office, we were able to confirm on a better copy of the PUD that indeed there is no side setback that pertains to the carport. I'll go through the presentation in a minute, but I just wanted to note that we did provide you a supplemental staff report for this property, and it outlines all the provisions of the Leiden Street Townhomes PUD, specifically regarding the setback from Leiden Street is a standard of 20 feet. The carport front facade setback is 5 feet behind the front of the building, which is the setback variance you're hearing. And then the building setback from the side property line is 10 feet. But the only requirement for carports is that they be a minimum separation of 5 feet. And the property to the east is unincorporated Adams County. So with that, I'll go ahead and go through the presentation, and then we can address any questions. And the applicant is present tonight if you have questions for him. So this is property, or this is case AV 250010. As I said before, it's a variance to approve a 5-foot setback from the front of the house to a 0-foot setback, and a 5-foot, I'm sorry, to a 1-foot setback, and a 5-foot reduction for an existing attached carport. This property is located at 6388 East 78th Avenue. The zoning is PUD, Planned Unit Development. The comprehensive plan character area is the central neighborhoods. The property is 0.04 acres in size. This is an aerial photograph showing the location of the property. And you can see it's right at the far edge of City of Commerce City limits, abutting unincorporated Adams County property. This is the location of the property as depicted on the Leiden Townhome Subdivision PUD. And you can see that it's the far east lot. These are some photographs that we showed you in February of what it looked like on the side of the home before the carport was constructed. And this is the carport during construction. You can see in the right-hand picture that there is a shed that's attached. And this was another question that came up at the February 10th board meeting, was whether it was appropriate and acceptable to put the attached shed with the carport. And in our supplemental staff report that we provided in your packet, we identified that the code for accessory structures allows a carport to have a solid side as long as it meets the garage architectural requirements, meaning it has the same materials and paint color as the primary structure. So we do find that the carport with the shed meets the provisions of the Land Development Code. This is just a site plan showing the orientation of the home to the street and where the carport is. This is an elevation side view drawing of how the carport is attached to the home and where the storage shed is located. At the February 10th meeting, we had received no comments or phone calls, and no additional contact has been made by any neighbors since that meeting. We do provide an analysis of the approval criteria in our staff report and in this presentation. Staff does find that the hardship in this case is self-imposed, and because the structure was built without a permit. And for this reason, we're not recommending approval of the variance. However, in the supplemental staff report, we identified the options that are available to the board this evening. And that is, if you approve the variance, it would allow the structure to remain as it's currently constructed. If you were to deny the variance, the applicant could have the option of cutting back the structure so that it was no longer in front of the home but flush with the front elevation. They could remove the structure altogether, or they could remove it and reconstruct it meeting the standards of the PUD. So those are the alternatives available. At this time, I'm happy to answer any questions, and as I said, the applicant is in the audience if you have questions for him.
Great, thank you for the presentation. And are there any questions for staff? I see you have your hand up, Board Member Poe. No questions?
Yeah, I have.
Or Fry, sorry.
You're good.
Member Fry.
Just a clarification, so within the packet, you, in the presentation slides, you, criteria A1 is about physical character, and you noted that there is no special issues with a property that would meet that criteria. I'm just curious regarding property size. The property itself does meet the PUD agreement, and it's within standard. So it's not below?
Correct. The property was zoned and subdivided under the provisions of the PUD, and so it's not a substandard lot.
Any other questions for staff?
I have questions for the applicant, but the staff. No, I do have one question for the staff. Just curious, do you have a survey or something that shows that this structure's on his property?
Well, we have been out there to measure the structure and in relationship to the side property line and the home, and found that it's not exceeding the side property line. It's not encroaching
Right,
across the side
I saw a
property.
fence line there. I was just curious.
Yeah.
If maybe you found the pins or if anything's moved over 40-plus years. But I was just curious about that, that's all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions for staff? Vice Board Member Whipple?
Yes, I have some questions that go back to, I guess, the last meeting. Did we ever figure out if this is an engineered structure, it's been approved? Was it built on some kind of plan, or is this just something that was assembled together?
Well, after the code enforcement team identified this structure as having been built without a permit, they did notify the property owner that they needed to seek a permit. It was in the review of that permit that the planning division discovered that there was a front setback issue for the carport. However, the building division did complete their review, and the outcome of that building permit getting issued is pending the outcome of this variance hearing tonight. So building has approved it at this time, and it's pending planning sign-off based on whether the variance gets approved or not.
So did we determine whether or not it's a approved structure? Who's making the approval? Is it a certified structure, or is this built with a plan?
Well, the building division has requirements that structures have construction plans associated with them that can be reviewed. When a homeowner is constructing a structure, they can submit that permit as the homeowner, as opposed to having a licensed contractor. It's not necessary for a structure of this size to have a stamped engineered design. It's simply adequate to have structural drawings that show how the structure was constructed, and then the building plan reviewers review that to make sure that it's sound.
Well, that kind of leads to my question is, when you can span 16 foot with a 2x6 unsupported, that's why I'm asking if it was an approved structure. Apparently, it's not an approved structure.
As I said, the building division did approve the permit. The only thing that is pending on the approval of the permit is the outcome of this variance hearing tonight.
So then the building division is approving this a sound structure?
Yes.
Okay. I had another question about the 10-foot side setback. I don't see that this hearing's been updated to address that.
I was trying to explain this, and maybe I didn't explain it well, but the supplemental staff report that we provided identifies what was not visible on the PUD because the document that we had at the February meeting was illegible. But we were able to locate a cleaner copy that was more legible and verify that in fact the minimum separation between carports is a 5-foot standard, and there is no side setback for a carport to the side property line, which was the question that was posed by the board at the February meeting. And we didn't have a good answer for you in February. That's why we asked you to continue the case so we could do more research and come back to you.
Okay, well, that didn't really go anywhere, but what's the side setback for a shed? A shed? The side setback dimensions for a shed?
Well, there's nothing stated on this PUD.
Does the city have a code that states that?
In this case, the carport and the storage, that's the shed, is one structure. So we're not differentiating between the storage portion of the carport and the covered portion of the carport. It's one structure. And we found that because that qualifies as a carport, it's subject to the carport provisions on the PUD.
Thank you.
And Board Member Fry, you have a question?
Thank you for, I do appreciate you guys looking into the PUD agreement and verifying our side yard question, because I was also concerned about that in particular, and so it is good to see that there is not that requirement. But to clarify, within the PUD agreement, it does not default back to the city code if it is not listed?
No, because the PUD does specifically address carports, we follow the guidelines on the PUD. We don't mix and match and take half the provisions from the Land Development Code and half from the PUD. We're looking solely at the PUD for those setbacks.
So no
related to the
Frankenstein,
primary structure and the carport.
no Frankenstein piecing?
No.
Cool. All right, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? No? Okay. And I do believe we have some questions for the applicant, if the applicant would like to come up to the podium. And if you could state your name, please.
Good afternoon. I'm Joseph Rubio.
Thank you. And I believe Board Member Voltakis, you had a question?
Good evening, Mr. Rubio. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for your patience as well. What year did you build this? I know you referenced that last month, but I just want to refresh my memory. What year was this built?
If I go back to the pictures, I can tell you the exact dates, but I'm guessing 6 years, maybe? 5, 6 years.
2020?
Excuse me?
Was it 2020?
It's somewhere close by there, because I'm looking at the red truck. That's my kid's truck, so that's about when he bought it. So I'm kind of just piecing it together, but
Okay.
the
all right.
phones are the ones that have all the dates on them with all the stuff. But yeah, it's pretty close to that, about 5, 6 years ago.
Do you remember what month that would be when you built this? Was it,
This one
looks
was
like it was
around
summer,
May, June.
May, June?
Yes.
So somewhere in the summertime of 2020, you believe?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have any further questions.
Do we have any other questions? Yes, Board Member Fry?
Hello, Mr. Rubio. I just wanted to clarify that you are seeking a 1 foot off the front of the building, correct? So between the carport and the front of your house is 1 foot as
I'm sorry, what?
posted?
Yeah, I apologize. There was an error in the original staff report that said 1 foot, but we've since clarified that it's 0 feet. So it is right, it's right at 5 feet from the front facade.
The reason why I was asking, because I just wanted to make sure what we had is, I wanted to make sure that the notice, because I thought it said 1 foot, not 0 feet. So is it 0 feet or 1?
And sorry, I just misspoke a second ago. It's even with the front elevation.
So it'd be,
And the code says it has, or the PUD says it has to be 5 foot back.
oh,
So it's,
so he's asking for a 5 foot variance for a
Yes.
0 foot
right,
off. And that was what was posted?
yes.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that with you and make sure that you are aware of that. And so, are you okay with that? Is the request for us?
So the request is to have you guys not make me cut it. Is that what you're saying?
That it's flush with the front of the house?
It is flush, yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure we are under that same understanding. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions for the applicant? None? Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Do any members of the public wish to provide any comments on this case? I don't believe we do. Is there anyone attending virtually tonight?
No, Chair.
Thank you. Okay. At this time, I will now close the public hearing for this case. Is there any discussion from the board?
Yeah, I have a little discussion. This was built in 2020, and I'm going on the premise that we had a pandemic going on. We don't even know if the city was open at that time when he built this. The National Weather Service says that was the second hottest month in or second hottest year in Colorado on record, May, June. And this gentleman built his, it started as a patio cover, and he built it for shade. Also throw on the fact that the state health department recommended that the gatherings take place outside. So he has motivation to build a patio cover on one of the second hottest summers in Colorado's history during a pandemic. So I can see why he built it, and I can understand that he did not get a permit, and the building department will do whatever penalty. We're not a punitive board, I don't believe. We're an adjudicative board to adjudicate the zoning. I also read in the PUD what I could decipher, that the houses are staggered on this property. Is that correct? Can we show an aerial view of the houses? And it looks like they are staggered. So I think in terms of when you say the front, I'm assuming you mean the street for the setback, is that correct? For the carport?
That's correct. The
Okay.
front is toward the street.
So it's going to encroach into that required setback by 1 foot?
It is even with the front elevation of the house.
Okay,
And the PUD requires it to be 5 feet back.
Right.
So that's the 5-foot variance.
and I read somewhere in there that these houses needed to be staggered for some reason. Who knows? It was back in the 80s. And if you look at the lot the second one to the left, it's in total conformance with the rest of the neighborhood. So I'm willing to accept this variance and approve it based on just those facts I gave you, because it does comply as a extraordinary situation for the pandemic and everything else back to 2020. And I think it meets that variance criteria, even though the applicant did not go out and get a building permit. But again, we're talking 2020. We don't even know if people were putting up tents in other sites without permits too. So we were trying to just exist and find a way through it. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Yes.
I do respect when this building got put in. Our board, though, is required to look at the code that is established and the criteria that we are to weigh against. And our criteria is broken into 2 sections. There's Section A, which you have to meet all 3 criteria, and Section B, which you can meet either or. For this applicant, and as staff reviewed, extenuating circumstances are not a part of the general requirement that we're looking at. The extenuating circumstances are listed that we weigh against, and the first one of the Section A is regarding the physical character, meaning a topographical issue, the dimension of the property, is it undersized to code? That's why I asked during our hearing about that particular. And this property is within code. It is within the agreement and regulations that are stipulated. And so the applicant and the review and during public hearing does not show that there's anything uniquely different compared to this property. Also, we are not looking at other people's property in cases because we don't have any information of how that was approved. So we cannot take that into consideration when we are reading that, because it's just an insinuation. It's not a fact that we are weighing against. Section 2 clearly stipulates about, is this project self-imposed? And this one in particularly, if you build it and then you're found out that you created a problem, that is the definition of self-imposed. So for, yes, 2020 and, you know, staggering of property, but is very clear that the applicant has not shown that criteria 1 and 2 of the 3 required material information has been justified in this particular case. Though it is hard to say, and I'm saddened about that, but we are appointed to uphold the community laws and agreements that we make with it as a community. Though I'm not super excited about it, but the applicant has not met those. And so I'm not in favor of approval because it does not meet the strict code here, even though it can meet the other 2 subpoints, but you have to meet these 3 and one of the other ones. And so I just wanted to make my thoughts for open discussion, and we can talk about maybe why you can see 1 or 2 being met, but I currently do not see them as reiterated in the staff report. And again, to the staff, thank you for looking into our question from the last meeting.
Thank you. Any follow-up discussion? Board Member Voltakis?
I can definitely respect everything that you just said. And I'm looking at A, I, or A1, and it says, or other extraordinary situation. So it meets that criteria. And then we go down to 2, and it says the hardship is not self-imposed. It's taken this board and this department how many months just to decipher the PUD because it's bad quality. I couldn't even read it, trying to blow it up on the computer. And to expect an applicant to read something like that, we finally determined, yeah, it's a carport. Definitely, we define it as a carport now, and we finally have some definition from the original document that says it just needs to be 5 foot apart from another structure. So I would address the self-imposed hardship in that manner. Also, I would also say that we inherited this and the city took it over from the county. We have no idea how this was planned in the county. And we have no idea why the city took it over and annexed it in. But we're now responsible for it. For 3, the variance will not be of substantial detriment to the adjacent property. And as I pointed out, the PUD already asked for a staggered, and it doesn't encroach, expose further than the roof line. It sits behind the roof line, and those 2 lots are pretty much the same, except one doesn't have a patio cover. So that's my argument, and I'm gonna stick with approval, but I can definitely respect what you're saying there.
Thank you. Any additional follow-up? Further discussion?
Sure, I'll say a couple things.
All right. Yes, Board Member Leffel?
Okay, and I think Mr. Fry has brought up some excellent points. We haven't really determined, to my satisfaction, whether or not the structure's actually an engineered approved structure. And when you can go 16 foot with a 2x6, I think that'll be news to me. My other problem with it is that he's a foot off the property line. I got to deal with this same problem at my property, where my neighbor continuously wants to come onto my property because his building's too close. The same thing is what we're trying to prove right here. When he needs to replace the siding or paint or do other maintenance, you're not going to be able to get into a 1 foot narrow corridor between a fence and do that type of work. So, and we haven't really addressed, as far as I'm concerned, the side setback either, because we're dancing around between a PUD, which I don't think we should even entertain that, and we should be strictly looking at the city's code. These PUDs was established before anybody cared, nobody really looked at it, and now it's come back to not match the city code. We need to know which takes priority, the PUD or the city code, which takes priority, and then we can determine the side setback is insufficient when we make that final determination. So I hate to see anybody have to take something down, and I don't like that at all. But there's a number of problems that haven't been addressed here that I think could have maybe been addressed. So that's what I got to say about that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Yes, Board Member Frye?
So just regarding Board Member Leffels' comment, just for when the city adopts a PUD agreement, it is essentially creating the code that we are upholding against, which is why we're asking for it. So I do believe that I do not share the same concern about the side yard setback, because this particular community's code is, through the PUD agreement, is essentially waiving the side yard, which we see in the standard code, which the city is working on overall on PUD agreements within the general how they work. And with the building department having approved the building itself, because they have to uphold the city's building code, which is for health and public safety. For me, I do believe that because they approved it, they just can't warrant it out until we give our approval on the variance request particularly. So I just wanted to give my comments on that on particular for the board. And just, I do appreciate the open dialogue with Board Member Latkus, and I do understand where you're coming from. I do want to, with the criteria A1, particularly, if you read the language as is in our packet, everything is talking not about other extraordinary circumstances, which I can kind of see where you're coming from, but if you take the entire sentence as a whole, it is referring to and continues to refer to about property dimensions, not acts of God happening in the world. And for self-imposed, the city has been here, since the 50s or beyond, and people know that you have to pull a building permit when you build. That is a very well-known thing in our community. We are a zoned community. We have building codes for a reason. And so just choosing not to, I don't find is an excuse of warranting not being self-imposed. And so I do understand how you can come to maybe finding a way through point one, but point two in particular, I cannot see that being met. And so I just wanted to have that open conversations.
Did you have follow-up?
Yeah, thanks. And concerning the side setback, this is a townhome. Most townhomes don't have side setbacks. It's usually a 0 because they're attached or they have a building envelope or something. So I just wanted to point that out. It's pretty typical to see townhomes have a 0 setback. As you can see, you have them attached in a property line and they have to build. As far as the building department goes, that's a building department issue. That's not it's attached to the house. I don't know if they need an engineer's stamp. The building department does, and they've said that they're happy and confident that they're ready to issue a permit concerning the structure's safety of it and the building of it. It's okay. So that's where I stand there, and I'll stick to my opinion on the approval. But thank you for adding that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? No, I don't have any, yeah. All right.
I will make a motion to deny case AV 25-10 as it fails to meet the criteria of the Land Development Code based on such findings, and deny the variance, specifically A1, the physical character of the property, and A2, the hardship of property, which you have to meet all three.
Okay. So we have a motion by Board Member Fry. Do we have a second? It appears we don't have a second. Just to confirm, no second? Okay,
I'll second that motion.
great, thank you. So we have a motion by Board Member Fry and a second by Board Member Leffel. Is there any discussion about this? Board Member Voltakis, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I did. It's obvious we need 4 for a quorum, correct? Is that correct, Chair? You got 4 people. Okay. Would any member entertain the idea of cutting it back by 1 foot on the front to meet at this point in time? To amend the motion to, no, okay. I don't, thank you. That's all.
I'm sorry, Board Member Fry, your motion was to deny, correct? So then you will be voting yes to deny.
Yes.
Okay.
Affirmative is to deny.
So that's a majority for a negative to deny it, a majority vote will be sufficient. So the motion passes.
Take the mute off. I will now open the public hearing on 2 similar cases, AB 25-0017 and AB 26-002, Freeman Signs variance. As a reminder to board, staff will present followed by the applicant. At the conclusion of both of these presentations, I will open the floor for any questions from the board. Once all questions have been asked, the public will have an opportunity to comment on the cases. We will start with members of the public attending in person before moving on to those attending virtually. With that, I will ask Planner Nathan Chavez to please announce and present these cases.
AV 25-0017, Freeman Signs on behalf of the E470 Public Highway Authority is requesting a variance to increase the freestanding sign size maximum from 60 square feet to 242 square feet, a 182 square foot increase for a proposed freestanding sign along E470. The 4.4 acre site is zoned regional commercial or C3 district and is located at 9022 E470. And AV 26-0002, Freeman Signs on behalf of the E470 Public Highway Authority is requesting a variance to increase the freestanding sign height maximum from 8 feet to 30 feet, a 22-foot increase for a proposed freestanding sign along E470. The 4.4 acre site is zoned regional commercial, C3 district, and is located at 9022 E470. So good evening, Chair and board members. Hope you all are doing well. For the purposes of time, this presentation will cover 2 variances, which are for the same site and sign. Specifically, the subject variances are for an increase to the maximum height and maximum size for a proposed sign along the E470 highway. The C3 zone site is surrounded by PUDs on either side of E470 with office flex planned to the west in the Legato West PUD, and then a preliminary PUD with no entitled zoning or land uses to the east, and that's the Prime Sites PUD where my cursor is currently at. And there are 2 sites under consideration for tonight. The one that we're specifically listening to is the northbound or eastern site where my cursor is currently at. So an 8,200 square foot convenience store with fuel sales is currently under construction on the 4.4 acre northbound site in red where my cursor is at. Across E470 to the west is a similar proposal, a convenience store with fuel sales known as the Apple Green Corporation. So both sites are only accessible from E470 and sit within a depression with a berm that is around 13 feet above the site to the east and 33 feet taller to the west, roughly where my cursor is at. Lost my cursor. And then on either side of E470 and the sites is undeveloped land to the east and west, and you can tell that from the aerial. So the subject sign will be located near the southwestern corner of the site, adjacent to the ingress-egress from E470 into the site. The only access to the site is from E470, either from the primary entrance located in the southwest corner where the sign is proposed to be located at, or just a couple of feet to the north, there's another entrance where my cursor is currently at. So the subject sign is 30 feet tall and 242 square feet large. While this is not the final design, that was submitted with a sign permit. The intention is to advertise the fuel and charging sales, restaurant tenants, and the Apple Green brand. The sign design emulates the design of the approved building with the utilization of a faux long board material and color, which you can see as these stripes right here. And in the packet, staff included the elevations for the actual Apple Green development, which is currently under construction. So as of today, staff has received no written comments or phone calls regarding these two variances. And then staff determined that the applications meet the approval criteria from section 21-3222.3 of the LDC. Specifically, the site is located adjacent to E470, a highway with a 75-mile-per-hour speed limit and with access only from E470. Because a sign may only be placed on a site where the primary use takes place, the proposed sign is restricted from being placed anywhere else on E470. This creates a situation where proper advertising necessitates a larger sign, as a sign cannot be placed further south along E470, where motorists will have proper notice and time to know an exit for fuel, food, and restrooms is ahead. Missing the exit would then necessitate a motorist exit, either exit onto East 96th Avenue and double back, or skip a Commerce City business altogether. And then because the lot and is in adjacency to E470, a larger sign is needed to allow for adequate notification and safe exiting of motorists to a new Commerce City business. In addition, the site and subdivision plat are designed in a manner to maximize use of the space with the least amount of disturbance to the E470 right-of-way. And because of this layout, the sign is located in the optimal spot to allow for advertising for E470 motorists while meeting the city's setback requirements. And then per the applicant's provided sign renderings, the proposed sign is not very visible until around 300 feet away, which is 200 feet from the start of the exit from E470 into the site. At this location along the corridor, the E470 and the proposed Apple Green is recessed with two land berms on either side. The subject sign sits around 13 feet below the berm to the east and 33 feet below the western berm. In addition, the subject sign is roughly 470 feet from the eastern boundary of E470 right-of-way and over 620 feet from the western boundary. So even if there are new uses that are developed on private property outside of E470, the depth of the recess where E470 sits and then the distance from the sign to either private property boundaries, there will not be a detriment to those adjacent property owners. In addition, the proposed variance for increased sign size is needed to ensure motorist safety. There must be a timely and adequate advertising of the coming businesses to ensure a safe exit from E470. And after this, I'll move back to the site plan and you all can see how quick that exit is from where the site starts to actually entering the Apple Green convenience stores. It's a very quick, I think I said 200 feet, going at 75 miles per hour. It's a very quick exit. And then lastly, development associated with the sign variance is the first commercial development within the specific district and is setting a precedent for the character of the district. The character of the area is planned for commercial and lighter industrial uses, which is specifically evident through the character area's land use map, which designates the site within the E470 Expressway Corridor District. And this character area is meant for commercial, general employment, office and warehouse and distribution logistics, primary land use. And within the Economic Development Framework Map, which designates the site within the E470 influence area, which encourages development, a strong level of enhanced architecture, and an opportunity for future development to set a strong design precedent in the area, which staff believes that Apple Green, the building generally, and the sign are doing. So staff recommends the Board of Adjustment approve AV 25-0017 and AV 26-0002 based on the findings that the applications meet the approval criteria of the Land Development Code. And then please note that a separate motion is needed for each case number. Thank you so much for your time.
Great, thank you for the presentation, for both presentations. Are there any questions for staff from the board? Board Member Valtakis?
You gave us a lot of information there. That was just, wow. There's definitely a lot. Okay, so the variance is for the height, and it's considerably percentage-wise higher than the 2022 or the 2022 regulations, correct?
Correct. From 8 feet to 30 feet, that's a 22-foot increase. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay, all right. Is there going to be a light involved lighting this sign? Is it going to be internal, external? How's it going to be lit up? I'm just curious.
Correct. Currently, the sign is proposed to have internal illumination, and specifically all of the logos you see on the sign, including the, the gas price displays will all be illuminated. The brown and green faux wood panels will not be illuminated, but I'm looking at the applicants. The faux wood panels will not be illuminated.
Okay. And are these pretty accurate? I'm looking at the drawings here. It says, for the signage, the price, it says 24 inches high by 6 feet 7 inches. How high up the sign are those? Or at least that one under Fuel brand? Is that going to be 10 feet, 15 feet? What I'm trying to drive at, Nathan, is will the residents be able to see this sign? Because I can see the sign from my house, the Big D sign or the Pumpies sign off of Tower Road 96, and I can see it from my house. I'm wondering how this is going to impact the residential areas.
Of course. So from the sign location, the northbound to the west, to the property line where the orange PUD starts, that's 670 feet. And residential, I believe, ends around Himalaya Parkway. So that's another 500 feet, so maybe over 1,000 feet.
So the PUD Legato West, where your pointer is, that's undeveloped and undetermined at this time?
Undetermined in terms of final end users. However, anything to the east of Himalaya Parkway will be either commercial or it's a office flex land use, and residential is not allowed within the strip east of Himalaya Parkway.
Right, okay. That's it, thank you very much.
Of course.
Any other, yes, Board Member Fry?
Welcome back.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi. Sorry, you weren't here at the last one, so I want to say hi. So what is the max sign height within the code? Again, can you reiterate that?
For this particular property, it is 8 feet tall.
8 feet tall. Okay. And then for the property owner, just to clarify, is E470 Parkway, so they own the entire highway right away?
Correct. Property owner is E470 Highway Authority. The applicant is Apple Green, and the applicant representatives are Freeman Signs. And so the actual two lots, the two red lots, or the one subject red lot, is owned by E470, and they're leasing out to
Apple
to Apple Green, correct?
Thank you.
And I have a question, I'm not sure if I missed it. Is access to this area only from E470?
That's correct,
Currently?
yes.
Okay.
It will only be northbound on E470.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any other questions for staff from the board? No? Okay, great, thank you. All right, are there any questions for the applicant? Will you have some?
I do.
Okay, if the applicant could please approach the podium, and if you could state your name.
Do they have a presentation?
Hi, I'm Roger Wilson with Freeman Signs. I live in Arvada, 13688 West 59th Place. Our office is at 38th and Monaco. It's where we're fabricating the signs.
Great, welcome. Did you have a presentation, or are you ready for questions?
Yes, we do.
Okay, great.
It's pretty much what we've got there with a little more to it.
I can hold it.
Are you going to cue that one up for me?
I can hold it.
Okay. So one thing I'll tell you is that you had asked a couple questions. This is a different controller than I had before. Just the right and left, okay. Only accessible from on the Pay Road. Pretty much a recess. They're taking the place of where those old pay tolls were. We used to drive in and you'd have to actually physically pay. It's on either side of that. They had maintenance facilities there before, and these are taking the places of those and allowing for access for convenience off of the highway rather than having to exit and then figure out how to get back on and repay again. So it's a pretty effective system. The one thing I'll tell you is it is very unique in that what we just mentioned with accessibility, but also with the fact that you're driving 75 miles an hour. And I would say that's a conservative speed if you go out there. These things are coming by you, and it's pretty scary when you're standing on the side of the road. As this, we're going through this basically. Nathan, thank you very much. That was awesome. I'll tell you that these Apple Greens are going into several locations, and they like you guys so much they gave you 2. Everyone else is getting 1. And as a condition of that, they went through and they did all of the preliminary planning, got everything approved. They didn't address the sign until afterwards. When they contacted us, they said, hey, can you do this? And now we're back in to ask for permission for something that would be effective. With our presentation, I don't know if you looked through all of that information that we had supplied to you guys, but it's a lot more signage than I think most people would like to know or understand. And it does explain the difference and the variant in a couple of things. One is feet per seconds, how many seconds you have to actually make your decision to get off and make the exit. The viewer reaction time, and then it finishes up with a viewer reaction distance. And that is the key. Safely to be able to exit the highway, I need to make a decision within 1,200 feet from when I'm ready to make my exit. And in order to do that, you had asked about the height on the display. The height of the display above any kind of obstruction. That could be a truck, that could be cars in the lane, that could be you driving, watching the road, whatever the conditions are, you need to have additional height. With standard CDOT and MUSID, which is the manual that the highways use, the minimum for the bottom of a sign is 7 feet going upward. And the code that you have is used for around the municipal area. It's not really set up for highway visibility. After being out there, I would want someone to be able to make a decision as fast as possible so that they didn't have a problem. And 1,200 feet is what we defined through those records that you saw. All right, with that, this is E470's authorization. It was included in your package and their approval for going through the process that we were doing. We tried to position the signs at the location as best we could to get maximum visibility. On the second one that we're going to look at, we had to move that one back into the facility because of a drainage issue where we originally had it placed, but the north elevation and the location is exactly as marked. You were asking about the sign itself. Those are illuminated pucks, if you will. The area should come down, there'll be Exxon as the actual fuel supplier, and they'll have gas pricers. Whether they're gonna have 3 like that or 2 or something, they're gonna have a configuration where they can identify their gas pricers. Below that is the charger station. And I found out this morning, which I didn't know this, apparently there's an app in Europe where they can, if you have an electric vehicle, you can do it and they'll tell you where to go, like parking spaces. And that isn't in the US yet, but in the goal in the end, I think, is to have that so that if you are driving an electric vehicle, you can see that there are available charging stations there. So that's what the bottom area is. We applied your logo to the bottom, and they are going to identify these as Commerce City northbound, southbound. And that's pretty much, I think if you look at the sign below there, if you look at the caisson, the sign's actually only 29 foot tall. The bottom caisson is a breakaway element, which is required by highways. All CDOT have to have breakaway bases. So that's that one. Here's the diagram with the site plan, and you can see where the sign's located. It's kind of in a grass slash foliage area to as close as we could get to the oncoming traffic headed northbound. There's a close-up of it. We did not define exact setbacks. We were going to adhere to whatever the city has. We will also supply engineering associated to that. We didn't supply engineering on the front end because we have to do soils, and depending on exact setback, we have to get that information after, hopefully you guys we get an approval and we can move forward. These were not in your packet, but I added them for this because I wanted to give us a perspective of what we're looking at. This is a driving visual coming from the top left is 1,200 feet, and then it kind of steps in all the way down to around 300 feet at the bottom if you look at this location. Now, the next one I did was in your package, but it was in separate pages. Uh-oh. Here. This was actually a flagging that we did. So if you look on the left, that's 1,200 feet, and you can kind of see where the sign is located and the configuration. And the hope is with 3 lanes, and it's called multi-lane traffic, that someone that's in the middle or left lane will be able to visualize that, even with vehicle blockage, and have time to make a safe exit. If they do not exit, they have to go up to 96 and double back, which is not really effective. What I guess the end result is we want to capture them when we can and get them to exit so that we can have them safely move from whichever lane they're in to the right. The next one is a 600-foot, and it kind of shows a little more perspective. And then this is, the one on the right is actually after you've already got onto the exit ramp. And that's when you start visualizing the elements that are there. This was a pretty clear day, and you could see, everything that you needed. Occasionally, you live in Colorado and I do, you know that isn't the case. And the next one that I did was actually, this is a view off of Google Earth, Google Maps. And if you look at this, you can see how much blockage is done. I had a series of these, and they're on the other side. This is the south travel lane, and you can see that any truck in the way, and you're pretty much gone. These are the calculations that I talked to you about, which were speed, it's feet per second, viewer reaction time, and viewer reaction distance. If you look at the bottom and you do the math, and I supplied a lot of this in the documentation, 1,212 feet is what you have to suppose your reaction time for trying to make the exit safely. It's 1,200 feet. So you need to be able to visualize that that's coming to you that quickly. The 30-foot in height does that. Initially, we were looking at 45, and we reduced down to 30, went to the size that you see, and that was all done by Applegreen during the process of vetting exactly what they wanted the image to be. This is a calculation that goes through the sizing. If you look at this, this is standards for the United States Sign Council. This is the sizing that they have warranted for those speeds. If you were traveling at 55 miles an hour, you would do 378 square feet of a sign that's sitting on the side of the road that has nothing but a big black or green or whatever color sign it is with graphics on it. If you look to the side, that goes through some of that. It does the reaction time, the speed, and then does a calculation, and it comes up to, with a multi-lane, they would be at 850 square feet. We're asking for 242. It's a lot more than you guys normally have for signage that you have driving the city, but for highway visibility, it's not outrageous. It's actually pretty conservative. That's pretty much what we have. I guess I'm open to any questions that you may have on what we're doing. I would say one thing, Aaron, you had asked about the top and the crown and if the sign was visible or whatever. It is a round circle, and to be honest with you, that is the image that they want to do so that from a distance you see that and go, hey, I should make this exit. The good news is it's green, and it's just got one white A and a little flag on it. The smaller pucks that are below are actually colored for whatever logo they are. Everyone would like their imaging to be noticeable, and you see the sign and go, there it is, there's Starbucks. Starbucks is going into both these locations. So they will have a puck with their logo. McDonald's is another one. You see the big arches, you know what that is. So that's kind of the imaging that Applegreen is going for, and Applegreen's big A is what they're putting on the sign.
Great, thank you. I had a quick question, and we'll move on to additional questions from the board. You'd mentioned Colorado weather, so I noticed there's a lot of surface area on that, and so I'm just curious about high winds. You mentioned the breakaway bases. Is that for possible high winds, or?
That's actually for collisions.
Oh, okay.
Highway does that for collisions. In case someone hits the thing, they want it to fall over rather than being so sturdy that it, well, if you hit some at 75, I don't know that there's going to be a bonus, but that's what the breakaway's for.
Great. Is there any consideration for high winds, or?
Well, the engineering does that.
Okay.
The engineering for the base and the structure itself, and the engineering on the pole size all takes in wind, and it accounts for all of that. The background area that you saw, and I can flip back to that real quick, that's all opaque. It's, when I say opaque, it's like the building. The wood cap that you see is what the top of the entrance for the building is going to be covered with. It is a product called Longboard. I just finished doing National Western Stock Show, the wood boards, the plaques that look like real wood, but they're not real wood. It's actually aluminum siding, but it really stands up well in weather. And that's what that is. The bottom is just a green painted longboard.
Got it, thank you. Do we have any questions from the board for the applicant? Yes, Board Member Leffel?
I had a couple of questions. The breakaway bases, you said that was a requirement from the Highway Department?
It's CDOT spec, and E470 is pretty much following whatever CDOT has for regs. So that's our breakaways for the base.
Okay, and there was never any discussion of a monument-type base for the sign like we've required others to do in the past? There's no talk about that?
Well, the reason we didn't go all the way to the ground was because of those structures. Initially, we had it drawn all the way down, and E470 was saying we want the breakaways, so we left that.
Where you could see them?
Yes.
The breakaways. Okay, well, I was just curious because other people, they want them to build a giant concrete base for their signs, and I don't see anything like, and certainly you don't want to run into that. No. And I appreciate your pointing out that the sign code was meant for effectively signs in town, city signs. They really haven't allowed for the highway signs within the concept of that code.
If you wrote a code that would take everything into effect, I think it would be too big. You'd never get
Last
to
I
it.
heard, and I don't know about the accuracy of this, but the city sign code was somewhere around 47 pages or something along, ridiculous. But I was just curious really about the breakaways, because we've had this in the past where the base of the sign where it connected to the earth was somewhat different. They wanted a monument concrete type base on them. But I think the breakaway makes way more sense. So, thank
A
you.
lot of concrete underneath that.
Oh, well, if they take a nosedive in the ground, they'll see
Yes.
that concrete base. Okay, thank you, that's it.
Great, thank you. And we have a question from Board Member Voltakis and then Board Member Frey.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wilson, I appreciate that. I was just curious, we're giving you 2 signs, right? So you like us that much, is there any way to move that Commerce City up a little bit instead of at the bottom, maybe put it somewhere in the middle?
Actually, it's interesting because that has been an issue that other municipalities have
Yeah.
said, we will not allow you to put your name on our sign, which I thought that was interesting because I was like, it's free advertisement. But the way that they delegated this and the way they ended up doing this, initially it was put in a couple different spots, and Apple Green is actually an Irish company from Dublin, and they have reconfigured this and reconfigured the back multiple times. As far as the bottom area, if we wanted to increase the size and do something different, we used that logo, not really asking. We just put it on
Okay.
and said, hey, this is where we're at. We thought during the permit process, we would fine tune that.
Oh, that's great, all right, great. Everybody else is branding, why can't the city?
Why not?
I agree with you. Thank you very much, you've answered all my questions. Oh, the city of Parker, is that being built or is in process? Do you have permits for
They're
that?
all under construction. We have not applied for the permits for Parker yet. You guys are on track, and there's kind of a race between the different PMs for the GC on who's going to get theirs done first. The city of Aurora, we applied, and they are doing this process through an administrative amendment to their PUD, through their process. They have an admin portion. They didn't have a variance for the process.
Okay.
I appreciate this because I always like people to know what exactly is going on and how it's going on and why. This is primarily a safety issue.
And I assume it's gonna be located a free fall distance from the road, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's on the site plan here, yeah. The other location is actually in the curb cut that you see to your left in this, and we'll see that one when we go to the next one. It was moved there because the city had some issues with the area over to the right with some type of drainage and wetland area. They wanted it moved over, so we moved it to that location.
And there's a lease with E470. Who does the maintenance? Who will do the maintenance of this
on
sign?
the
Clean up any,
signage?
yeah, clean it up if it
Well,
gets tagged or something. Who's gonna go out
Apple
there and do
Green will
that?
do that.
Who?
Apple Green.
Apple Green will be responsible for
It's all on them.
the maintenance of that? Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Frey, you had questions?
I do have a question. Thank you. I appreciate your presentation. You answered quite a few of my questions. The one I wanted to clarify in particular is the criteria of the hardship is not self-imposed. And so I just wanted to clarify, you mentioned that the size was 45 feet and you brought it down to 30, so cool. But I was just curious, since E470 essentially owns property north and south of this particular property and they're leasing, I was wondering, can the, like on highway sign, like when you're driving down the highway, you can see fuel signs like miles in advance that tell you it's coming along. I was just wondering if you could address that and why what might be a difference between that sign and why this one would kind of
Right. Whenever you're looking at monument signs like this, They act as a directional and as a, I'm gonna drive to that. And I'm gonna make my exit because I see this sign. And that's what we're hoping for with the A on the top. But hey, I see that, that's my exit, I'm gonna drive toward that. You do that whether you believe it or not with signage at shopping centers. Whenever there's a shopping center and there's a main sign, you drive toward it knowing that that's your egress to get into the facility. That's the same mentality. There is a process where they're looking at doing a sign back down the road where it says 6 miles to the location. That has not been finalized yet. They're working with E470 to do a lease for those. But this is, it's more of a directional point of entrance where you need to see it, and the reason for the height is the distance that you need to view it. And blockage, you could see from what we had there that it's substantial. And if we want everyone to be able to make a safe exit and to be able to get into the facility and then get back out without having to go through the tolls again.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? All right, great, thank you very much.
I don't think I'm going anywhere, right? We're doing another one? Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Do you need me to do anything with this? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and are there any members of the public that wish to provide comments on both of these cases? Okay, it appears not. And are there any anyone attending virtually tonight?
No, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I will now close the public hearing for these cases. Is there any discussion from the board?
Yeah, I'd like to speak a little bit. I wanted to just refresh on, would this sign be considered a civic benefit since it, obviously, it's on E470, there are no gas stations on, or services or anything. Would this be considered one of those civic benefits that would be a public good and approval for a variance too?
Thank you for that question, Board Member Valtakis. No, because this has private company advertising, it is a normal retail advertising sign. The type of sign that you're talking about could be, when you're on I-25 and it says downtown Castle Rock, next exit, shopping, dining, that kind of sign is more of a civic identity sign, or something that says, hey, there's a historic downtown in this town. But this is specifically identifying retail outlets, so it is a retail sign.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And Board Member Frey had some comments?
Since we're hearing two variances, in both of them I am supportive of. I do believe the case and particularly meets the three required ones, the physical characteristic and the hardship of the property. The hardship was the one that I was more curious about, and I do believe is met for safety particulars, and so I do believe in order, and I do appreciate how the applicant did put the calculation there. I do like the numbers, and it does help. And so I would be in favor of approving both these variances that are presented tonight.
Any further discussion? None? All right. Can I get a motion for case AV 25-017?
I will make a motion to approve AV 25-17, and that it meets the criteria of the Land Development Code based upon such findings, and approve the variance.
Thank you. Can we get a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. We have a motion by Board Member Frey and a second by Board Member Voltakis. Is there any discussion? It appears none. If we can please open the electronic voting. We have 4 yeses, motion passes. Thank you. Can I get a motion for case AV 26-002?
I make the motion to approve AV 26-2 and that it meets the criteria of the Land Development Code based upon such finding and approve the variance.
I'll second that.
Great. We have a motion by Board Member Fry and a second by Board Member Valtakis. Is there any discussion on this case? It appears none. If we can please open the electronic voting. We have 4 yeses, motion passes. Okay, I'll now open the public hearing for 2 similar cases, AV 26-0001 and AV 26-0003, Freeman Signs variance. As a reminder to the board, staff will present, followed by the applicant. At the conclusion of both of those presentations, I will open the floor for any questions from the board. Once all questions have been asked, the public will have an opportunity to comment on these cases. We will start with members of the public attending in person before moving on to those attending virtually. With that, I ask Planner Nathan Chavez to please announce and present these cases.
AV 26-0001, Freeman Signs on behalf of the E470 Public Highway Authority is requesting a variance to increase the freestanding sign size maximum from 60 square feet to 242 square feet, a 182 square foot increase for a proposed freestanding sign along E470. The 4.47 acre site is zoned Regional Commercial C3 District and is located at 9021 E470. AV 26-0003, Freeman Signs on behalf of the E470 Public Highway Authority is requesting a variance to increase the freestanding sign height maximum from 8 feet to 30 feet, a 22-foot increase for a proposed freestanding sign along E470. The 4.47 acre site is zoned Regional Commercial C3 District and is located at 9021 E470. So similar to the last presentation, this presentation before you will cover 2 variances, which are for the same site and sign. It will be a lot of the same information you heard last time, but for the sake of the public record and to make sure the city is doing things correctly, we need to go through the presentation once more. However, staff will do their best to hasten the presentation out of respect for everyone's time tonight. So the variances are for an increase to maximum height and maximum size for a sign along E470. The C3 zone site is surrounded by PUDs on either side. To the east is the prime site's PUD with a, there's no entitled zoning or land uses, and to the west is the Legato PUD with everything to the east of Himalaya Parkway being an office flex entitled land uses. So for the southbound site where my cursor is, where the yellow star is, an 8,200 square foot convenience store with fuel sales is under construction. The 4.47 acre site will only have access off of E470, and this whole section of E470 sits in a depression with a large berm that is 13 feet above this depression on the east side, and on the west side, the berm is 33 feet taller than the E470 and both Apple Green sites. So the subject sign will be located at the northeastern corner of the site, adjacent to that access onto E470. And then the southbound side is slightly different, where the only access is to the actual site is the actual exit. So the subject sign, similar to the last sign, is 30 feet tall and 242 square feet large, and it has the exact same design as the northbound site. So as of today, staff has received no public comment, whether written or via phone call, from the public regarding these applications. And then staff determined that the applications meet the approval criteria from section 21-3222.3 of the LDC. Specifically, the site is located adjacent to E470, a highway with 75 mile per hour speed limit, and with access only from E470. And because the sign can only be placed on the site where the primary land use takes place, the proposed sign is restricted from being placed anywhere else on E470. And that's this particular sign, not the blue signs. That one would see gas 6 miles down the road. And so this creates a situation where the proper advertising for the business requires a larger sign, and that sign can't be placed anywhere else on E470 because it would then be considered an off-premise sign. The site and subdivision plat are designed in a manner to maximize use of the space with the least amount of disturbance to the E470 right-of-way, and because the layout of the sign is located in the optimal spot to allow for advertising for E470, motorists while meeting setback requirements. At this location along the corridor, E470 and the proposed apple green is recessed with 2 land berms on either side, 13 feet to the east and 33 feet to the west. In addition, the sign is roughly 470 feet to the western boundary and 620 feet to the eastern boundary. Once one includes setbacks, any commercial or office or industrial user would probably be 500 feet away from the western boundary, and then 650, 670 feet away from the eastern boundary. So it is pretty far, or would be pretty far from any user outside of E470 on either side to the east or west. In addition, the proposed variance for increased sign size is needed to ensure motorist safety and height. There must be timely and adequate advertising of the coming business to ensure safe exiting from E470. And then lastly, the development associated with the sign variance is the first commercial development within the district, and it's setting a precedent. The character of the area is planned for commercial and lighter industrial uses, which is specifically evident through the character area's land use map, as well as the economic development framework map. And then lastly, staff recommends approval of AV 26-0001 and AV 26-0003 to the Board of Adjustment based on the findings that the applications meets the approval criteria of the Land Development Code. And again, please note that a separate motion is required for both of these applications. Thank you so much for your time, and sorry if I went a little too fast.
No, you're great. Thank you for the presentations. Are there any questions for staff from the board? All right, no questions. Are there any questions for the applicant? Didn't think so. None? Okay, perfect. Okay. Do any members of the public wish to provide comments on these cases?
Chair Hernandez, we should ask the applicant if he wishes to make a presentation to the board, since he's making a separate record on this one.
Okay, great. Yeah. Applicant, if you'd like to approach, if you'd like to present.
Do I need to do the address and everything again? Okay. All right. Hi there again. The one thing that we did amend was the site plan, and it looked like you had the other one on there. If you look at the site plan, you can see where that was mandated through the questionnaire, then when we sent it through. By the way, you guys have an awesome system. Our permit tech actually lives in Commerce City, and she went through the process and submitted all of this, and we got replies back and then adjusted what we had submitted, and that was the main adjustment. So that is the only change that we have from the other presentation. And then we showed a close-up of where that would be located. We were over in the left, and they had problems with it, drainage and all of that, and they said that we couldn't go in that area at all. And then this was the drive-by with the Google Maps, where you can see the blockage. This is the location, 12, 6, and 300 feet. Same calculations for everything. That's pretty much what we had. If you got any more questions on those.
Oh, yes. Board Member Fry, you have a question?
This is more for our staff. With the location change on the site plan, does that impact any of our variance requirements?
It will not. Staff wrote the variance requirements specifically for size and height. There may be some differences in how far the sign is from the entrance. But with that being said, the location and final design will be taken care of and finalized at the sign permit process. And staff and the applicants had that discussion during the review process. Hey, here's a comment that you'll need to address, but you don't technically need to hammer it out or finalize it until the sign permit process.
it meets the setback requirements for the code.
Thank you. Any other questions for the applicant?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Okay, and I know we asked this before, but I'll ask again. I don't believe we do, but are there any members of the public who wish to provide comments on these cases? Okay, do not believe there are any. And is there anyone attending virtually tonight who wishes to speak?
No, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I will now close the public hearing for these cases. Is there any discussion by the board?
I will make a motion.
You make a motion? All right.
I make a motion to approve AV 26-01 and that it meets the criteria of the Land Development Code based upon such finding and approved variance.
Can we get a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. We have a motion by Board Member Fry and a second by Board Member Voltakis. Is there any discussion? All right, no discussion. So we'll go ahead and please open the electronic voting. Okay, we have 4 yeses, motion passes. Thank you. Can I get a motion for case AV 26-0003?
I will make a motion for AV 26-003 and that it meets the criteria of the Land Development Code and based upon such finding, approve the variance.
Thank you. Can we get a second?
I'll second that.
Great. We have a motion by Board Member Fry and a second by Board Member Voltakis. Is there any discussion from the board? All right, no discussion. If we can please open the electronic voting. We have 4 yeses, motion passes. Thank you.
Have a good night.
All right. All right, I'll now open the public hearing on case AU 25-0002, vertical bridge used by permit. As a reminder to the board, staff will present, followed by the applicant. At the conclusion of both of these presentations, I will open the floor for any questions from the board. Once all questions have been asked, the public will have an opportunity to comment on the case. We will start with members of the public attending in person before moving on to those attending virtually. With that, I ask Planner Kathleen Taylor to please announce and present the case.
Hi, good evening. This is AU 25-0002. Vertical Bridge is seeking a use by permit approval to allow for a 70-foot tall communications tower and associated 2,500 square foot compound. The 4.7 acre property is located at 4304 East 60th Avenue and is zoned E3 heavy intensity industrial. Okay, most of what is up here I just read to you, but yes, it's a use by permit that's required within the I3 zone for any new telecommunications tower. And it is located here just right up against the, it's in the black hatched area, and that is the site itself. The facility will be to the north end, and anything that you see on the map there that is the light blue striping, that indicates floodplain area. So where they are locating will not be within the floodplain area. The property backs up against the on-ramp from E270, or from I-270 to I-85. Within our comprehensive plan, it's on the 270 Industrial District character area, and I'll show you on a map in just a moment here. The site itself is 4.7 acres. This is aerial photography of the site. It's outlined in blue. The red star indicates where the telecommunications tower and associated housing will be located. It will be just behind an existing building on site. This is the comprehensive land use plan, and it indicates the pink color, which is the 270 Industrial District. What we expect to see in the future in that area is just continued industrial growth. There's already quite a lot in the vicinity, and this will just fit right in with what is already existing. This is a site plan. It only shows the northern portion of the site. The blue outlines are existing buildings on site, and the yellow triangle is the area where the telecommunications tower and associated facilities would be located. It will be screened by a fence and the building. The yellow circle in the middle of the triangle is exactly where the monopole itself will be located. This is just an example. I asked the applicant to submit something for you so you could kind of get a feel for what the actual associated housing looks like. And there will be a fenced area. They only have one user, I think, at this time, which is Verizon Wireless, and they'll have some sort of equipment associated with that, some sort of cabinets holding their equipment, and there will be extra space to allow for co-location. So additional cellular facilities could locate on the monopole and have their facilities located within this fenced area. This, the applicant also provided, you'll see on the left-hand side is an existing view of the property from the northwest. And then on the right, you'll see where they've kind of pointed out and inserted what the new monopole and antennas would look like in the area. It's a really great visual to see that it just fits right in with what's already going on out there. Oops. Now we'll go through the use by permit approval criteria. It has to meet all of the first few, and then we'll get to the end. It only needs to meet one of two. So for this particular criteria, it talks about it that it fits in with the location, that it won't have any undue substantial adverse effects on the adjacent properties. And in this particular case, because what they're proposing is an industrial use, it will be surrounded by industrial uses that are already existing, so it fits in with the character of the area. The applicant has shown that they meet the setback requirements. The monopole has to be set back 25 feet from the property line, which they have done. They have to be well screened, which they have also done. And the pictorials that I showed you earlier, I think, are a great illustration of how well the monopole will fit in with the surrounding area. The second criteria, the characteristics of the site are suitable for this use that they're proposing. And they did a great job avoiding the floodplain. That's really important to avoid the environmentally sensitive area. So the location is great on the site, and it is suitable for the tower and associated equipment. It'll fit in well with the area and provide a service that I'm sure is much needed. The third criteria, the proposed location, is that the importance of this criteria is that they are not making any due hardship on the existing facilities and improvements and services that we have within the city. And if they were, they would need to be accommodating for that. In this particular situation, there's a road that adequately serves the site. It will not need to even be serviced very frequently. The surrounding subject area is similar land uses, so the tower will actually provide better quality cellular services to the surrounding area, and it will not impose any undue burden on any improvements. This third criteria, basically, with this criteria, the most important thing is that it falls in line with the city's comprehensive land use plan. And I've pulled out 4 different goals from the comprehensive plan. 2 are within the character area chapter, and 2 are within the public facilities and infrastructures chapter. And I've listed all of those goals for you. The first one talks about utilizing the code to improve the city's quality of life and connectivity. Well, certainly this will improve quality of life in terms of making better cellular facilities available. We all know that all of us are dependent on our cell phones for almost everything we do throughout the day. Goal number 6 in the character area chapter mentions prioritizing infill projects as well as redevelopment within the city so that we minimize the need for additional infrastructure. This is a perfect example of an infill development where they're already locating on a site that already exists, that already functions as industrial, so it's a great use of the land. And within the public facilities and infrastructure chapter, there's goal number 2, maintain high quality public safety and emergency response services. Use of the cellular tower will be most important to many of us in case there is an emergency, so we'll be grateful for this additional infrastructure. And the final goal that I pulled out is Goal 5, ensure appropriate high-quality infrastructure to accommodate community needs and future growth. This facility, if approved, it will aid in accommodating future growth. This final, last criteria, it's basically a either or. I think I'm on that one. Maybe I'm not. Okay, let's see here. There is a proven community need for the use at the proposed location, given existing and proposed uses of similar nature, in order to maintain a proper mix of uses. Cell phones are widely used by all of us, and this will help integrate well with communication and emergency services within the community. And it should improve services as well. Gosh, did I miss one? Did I skip one? Oh, this was the or. Okay, if they meet all the comp plan, which they do, or this final one, and in this particular circumstance, they show that they actually meet both of them. Staff is recommending that you approve AU 25-0002, and I did forget to mention that we have not received any public comments at all related to this application. Happy to answer any questions for you.
Great. Thank you for the presentation. Are there any questions from the board? None? Okay. No questions for staff. Is the applicant present? Did we have any questions for the applicant? Did they have a presentation?
They do.
Got it. Hello, my name is Jenny Robbins. My address is 5278 Pinehurst in Boulder. I am here this evening on behalf of Vertical Bridge, which is the applicant for the use by permit for the telecommunications monopole facility located at 4304 East 60th Avenue. I will go through the slides briefly just to explain the project, and then if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer. This presentation will outline the engineering necessity for a Verizon wireless communication facility. The goal of the project is to address an existing service gap in this part of Commerce City while supporting reliable communications for residents, businesses, and emergency services. This wireless communications has become the primary way most Americans access emergency services. Today, over 80% of 911 calls originate from mobile devices, and the majority of households rely exclusively on wireless communications, ensuring reliable coverage and therefore public safety priority as well as a quality of life issue. Project need overview. This site is proposed specifically to address that coverage gap in that area. The facility will improve reliability and strengthen in-vehicle and in-building connectivity, relieve congestion on nearby network sectors, and enhance overall performance for the community. Go forward, oops, there we go. These maps illustrate an existing coverage gap compared to the projected coverage once the facility is operational. As shown, the proposed tower fills a key service gap in the network, and these improvements allow Verizon to provide more consistent and reliable service through that area. This is an aerial view of the proposed tower location. As mentioned, this site is located within the industrial zoning district where the telecommunications facilities are allowed with the approval of a use by permit. This aerial view shows a proposed tower location. The site was selected because it allows the facility to effectively address that coverage deficiency while maintaining comparable surrounding land uses. Its placement also minimizes visual and operational impacts on the nearby properties. This is the site plan of the tower compound. This illustrates the tower compound and associated equipment area. The footprint is designed to comply with all the zoning and setback requirements. Access and operational needs for this tower are limited, meaning minimal disruption to the surrounding properties. The facility will be located behind the existing building on the property, also minimizing visibility from the surrounding areas. The equipment area, as shown on the picture that was shown just before, it will be enclosed within an existing fenced compound and designed to blend in with the industrial character of the area. This is a slide showing the proposed tower. The height and configuration are engineered specifically to resolve the mentioned coverage gap. The design also allows for potential co-location by other carriers, which will reduce the need for additional towers in the area. This is the before and after simulation, which was already shown. And then the use by permit approval, I think Kathleen mentioned most of that quite well earlier. And lastly, the conclusion. In conclusion, the facility will represent the most effective way to address the coverage deficiency in this part of Commerce City. It strengthens public safety communications, improves everyday connectivity, and complies with applicable land use requirements. We appreciate staff's review and recommendation for approval and respectfully request the board's support for this application. Thank you very much. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Any questions come up from the board for the applicant? None? Okay. None? Okay, great, thank you. Do any members of the public wish to provide comments on this case? Okay. It appears not. Is there anyone attending virtually tonight that would like to speak?
No, Chair.
Perfect. Okay. Okay, at this time, I will now close the public hearing for this case. Is there any discussion from the board?
I just wanted to ask a question of staff real quick. For these towers, is it the free fall distance or for
I'm sorry, what was that question you said?
the free fall distance of the pole? If this pole were to fall down or something, would it go over the property line into somebody else's property?
Our code doesn't envision that. Structurally, these are very sound
No,
with foundations in the ground, so they're not prone to blow over like a monument, like
So
a
we
pole
don't have
slant
any
might be.
regulations or any code that states
Right.
that? Okay.
We don't
Well,
have
they
any.
will have to meet building code requirements in
Right.
terms of wind calculations, all engineered, all of that will be required.
I understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just, for a point of, I think it's in order, we closed the public hearing, and so I just want to, since we closed the public hearing during our cases, we're in deliberation, the phase of our meeting, and I just wanted to make sure, like, asking for different information, I think, might open us up to the public hearing, and so for other future cases, I just wanted to, when we're in deliberation mode, it is not asking for new information,
Sure.
because
Point
that
of-
then
point of
opens
order,
it up
Kate.
for the public.
Board member, you are technically correct. We do have some language in our rules that allows you to ask questions of staff at any time that you need to. But for purposes of a record, I agree that that's generally the practice that we follow.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? All right. All right, so if I can get a motion for this case, that would be great.
I will make a motion on AU 25-2 that it meets the criteria of the Land Development Code based upon such findings and approve the use by permit.
I'll second that.
Great, we have a motion by Board Member Fry and a second by Board Member Valtakis. Is there any discussion? Okay, no discussion. If we can please open the electronic voting. All right, we have 4 yeses, motion passes. Okay, I will now open the public hearing on case AB 25-0015, Raptor Civil Variance. As a reminder to the board, staff will present, followed by the applicant. At the conclusion of both of these presentation, I will open the floor for any questions from the board. Once all questions have been asked, the public will have an opportunity to comment on the case. We will start with members of the public attending in person before moving on to those attending virtually. With that, I ask Planner Nick Berry to please announce and present the case.
Raptor Civil, on behalf of Elliott Equipment Company, is seeking a variance approval for a retaining wall which is 8 feet tall, where the Land Development Code allows for a 4-foot tall wall, a 4-foot increase. The 1.03 acre property is located at 4400 East 60th Avenue and is zoned I3 Heavy Intensity Industrial. Good evening, Board. As mentioned before you this evening is a variance request specific to a retaining wall. So you'll see here on the image on the left here, there's a few, here's my mouse. Okay, so the green border is the boundary line of the property. The red line here is the boundary of the detention pond for which the retaining wall will be at the back of. There's a development plan which was included into your packet, which kind of showed how the site is anticipated to be developed or being proposed to be developed and necessitating the pond be located at the back at the depth that it is. Here's some current conditions of the site. So this is, the top image is facing south from 60th Avenue, while the image on the bottom is a view from the CDOT access road facing into the property. So the detention pond, or excuse me, the retention pond will be located at the rear of the site, approximately where this board here is here. And then again, kind of on this bottom image, located about where this board is at, towards the rear of the site. Here's the site plan from that development plan. So you can see a couple of colors here. So this blue color here is the existing building, which was shown on the site photos. The orange building here is the newly proposed addition. And then the green area here is the detention pond. Like, as I mentioned, the retaining wall will be at the back to support the retention pond. So briefly just wanted to cover for you what is retention. So all sites at the time of development under present code have to handle their own stormwater runoff. There are a variety of methods to do so. Listed here you see detention, retention, rain gardens, or regional facilities. So detention holds the water briefly before releasing it into the stormwater system. Retention holds it on site until it can infiltrate into the ground or evaporate. Rain gardens kind of filter the water as it heads into the stormwater system and doesn't necessarily hold any water on its own. And then regional facilities usually are seen in neighborhoods where homes are built and the stormwater has to be handled for all of those properties. So it's kind of a regional facility that services multiple property owners. As mentioned here, the site is using a retention facility. So that necessitates, per city standards, that it be dug deep enough to hold twice the 100-year storm. So basically the 100-year storm has a 1% chance of happening every year, whereas the worst average storm in a 100-year period, to kind of give you some context there, which is a considerable amount of water when you have to double it, right? So that's why it's being dug so deep. And because of some of the constraints of the site, retention had to be used rather than detention because of site access and access to storm sewer in 60th Avenue was difficult. So like I said, retention was selected for this site. Here's kind of a grading plan to show you a top-down image of it. So you can see it slopes down here. So off-site, it's about, this is distances from sea level. So then as you look at the top of the pond, it's about equal with the surrounding property, and then it kind of will slope down gently until you get down to the bottom here. The different colors you see, so this orange color is retaining wall less than 4 feet, and then where it shifts to red is the retaining wall portion that is taller than 8 feet. To date, staff has received no public comment. Looking at the approval criteria, the physical character of the property and the nearby properties won't be changed by the request because it's already an industrial district, or excuse me, let me back up. This is the surrounding properties, the hardship. So because this property is smaller in size than its nearby properties in the area could more generally have a larger pond that wouldn't have to be so deep to accommodate the amount of runoff that they would need to with this site. And then because of access and topography of the site, it makes sense to locate the pond in the rear of the site. So in this instance, the hardship is coming from city codes. So when you have retention facilities, they have to be, like I said, as I mentioned, twice the 100-year flood, which means that they have to be dug so deep, thus necessitating the 8-foot wall rather than a different option versus like a 6-foot or a 4-foot wall that would meet code. And then criterion 3, the variance will not be a substantial detriment to adjacent properties. Like I said, it'll be subgrade, right? As I mentioned, it'll slope down to that 8-foot wall, meaning that the views from offsite will be minimally impacted, if at all, by this retention facility. And then it's an either or. In this instance, the application can meet both of these criteria. So for the first one, the retention pond is designed to the requirements of the city. The 8-foot depth is the minimum needed to meet the city standards. And then criterion 2, the character of the district will not be changed because it's industrial property surrounded by industrial properties. This facility won't change any of that. Since it meets all the approval criteria, staff is recommending approval of variance AV 25-0015.
Great, thank you for the presentation. Are there any questions by the board for staff? No staff questions? All right, thank you. Is the applicant present?
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Liz Jones. I'm with Raptor Civil, the civil engineering team on the project. First off, thank you, Nick and Monroe on the engineering department who, helped us get to this point on this challenging site, like Nick was referring to. The Elliott Equipment Company, I think they moved into the building in 2016 and are looking to expand their operations because the business has been great since they came to the Commerce City community. So like Nick was saying, just needing to do detention, water quality, a requirement. So, this is kind of the last piece that we need to get our development plan approved and allow them to kind of have more space for their vehicle repair. So any questions I can answer, concerns, happy to do that. And once again, thank you for hearing our case.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, there are no further questions. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, do any members of the public wish to provide comments on this case? It appears none. Is there anyone attending virtually tonight that would like to speak?
No, Chair.
Great. Yeah, at this time, I will now close the public hearing for this case. Is there any discussion from the board? Discussion? Oh, yes, Board Member Fry?
I just wanted to comment that I am supportive of this case and do agree with staff's recommendation and analysis, and would be willing to make a motion for approval.
Okay. Can we get a motion?
All right, I make a motion for AV 25-15 and that it meets the criteria of the Land Development Code based upon such finding and approve the variance.
Thank you. Can we get a second?
I'll second.
Great, thank you. We have a motion by Board Member Fry and a second by Board Member Voltakis. Is there any discussion? No? All right. We can please open the electronic voting. Okay, we have 4 yeses. Motion passes. Thank you. All right, so we'll go ahead and move on. Is there any board business to discuss at this time? Here's no board business. Is there any attorney business to discuss at this time?
Very briefly, I'll be subbing in for the next few months. We are in the process of hiring a new attorney. Elliot Schaefer left us. We're very sad about that. But I'll be with you for a few months until we hire somebody else, and we'll assess then who will be covering for it.
Excellent, thank you. Is there any?
Welcome to our team.
Yes. Is there any staff business to discuss at this time?
Just wanted to give you a quick update on the legislative rezoning. We have started public outreach. This evening, there's an open house that was happening at Bison Ridge Rec Center for the northern neighborhoods. We will have further outreach for the core city later this summer, and we'll have an open house at the Eagle Point Rec Center. So if you are interested in the legislative rezoning, we do have a webpage online that has access to the draft maps, and you can contact staff if you have further questions.
Great, thank you. Do we know if we're having a meeting next month?
We do have cases for the April 17th meeting.
Great, thank you. All right. What time we got here? Is that 8:08? The time is 8:08 p.m. and the regular meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.